But this does not mean that there are no conspiracies in history. You know the Jewish joke, Polish Jewish joke, the fact that I am paranoid doesn't mean that I'm not followed by anybody. There, we don't believe in conspiracy theory to explain everything. But an Israeli lobby did play a major role in affecting things, but it did not produce the chances, it used the chances. People think that this means that they produced the 11th of September. This is nonsense. They use the expedients. They are well organized and they can use the chances that are given in history. Now, the fact that they benefit from it and they know how to benefit from it does not mean that they made it. The fact that the United States today benefits from Shi'i-Sunni rivalries in Iraq does not mean that they made Shi'is and Sunnis. This happened 1,000 years ago. They are exploiting it. By exploiting it, they reproduce it. And they modernize it and reproduce it. Israel is going to benefit from the attack on Iraq, and they are going to use it in a very intensive way and unscrupulously to force the Palestinian leadership to accept, not only to accept what they did not accept in Camp David, but even to accept less than that. That's the plan now. And the second phase after Iraq is Palestine, not Syria. Syria will come later. They don't have an excuse for Syria. The Syrian leadership was not as bloody as the dictatorship in Iraq and did not give any excuse in terms of foreign policies. It's a very pragmatic, very rational, some may say even very opportunistic, as rational as that. A very pragmatic leadership. It's very hard to find something there, even for an empire, even for an imperial policies. Why? And Syria is not as powerful as Iraq, was never as powerful as Iraq. Their policies in Lebanon is an issue of Syrian Lebanese consent. Of course, there are opposition. There is opposition, but the majority in both countries see that this is one strategic space you cannot connect, you cannot disconnect. And 17th of May failed when there was an attempt of a minority in Lebanon to close separate peace between Lebanon and Israel. And it will fail also in the future. It's not going to happen. But in the case of Palestine, a demonization process already happened to Yasser Arafat. And the methods that were used against him remind you of the methods that were used in the case of Iraq. In certain cases, the same terminology. He's behind everything, he's everywhere, he's responsible for everything. And his personal name, even, repeating. Demonization process in an unprecedented way. Since Camp David, since he dared to say no to American and Israeli dictate. That's all. He was a nice guy day before. A day before. And he was welcome in the saloons of the White House. Everything was okay. But after his rejection to accept the Israeli-American dictate, a demonization process started, and we know its end now. What's going on with Yasser Arafat in the so-called West, in the West. His legitimacy, the fact that he's not accepted diplomatically. So the calls began for reform in the Palestinian administration, and I tell you, not only it does not mean democracy, it has to be anti-democratic. It has to be anti-democratic. The reform has to mean putting in jail people who enjoy more popularity than the people who put them in jail. It has to be anti-democratic. Not only Marwan Barghouti is elected as an elected representative of the Palestinian people in the legislative, which was produced by Oslo, not by the Palestinians. The Legislative Council is a term of Oslo. Not only this, Hussam Khadr, 5 weeks ago, a friend of mine, also member of the Legislative Council, elected like I am elected, is in jail. And there will be others in jail in order to let this pass. You can't pass the Israeli-American dictate without putting many, many democratic Palestinians in jails. And without shutting the mouth of press, and without buying people, and without bribing people. And you can't bribe without corruption. Bribe is corruption. You can't be fighting corruption and buying people. You know, buying people to fight corruption, that's nice. So, they will be doing that in order to pass the American-Israeli dictate. If Yasser Arafat understands this and go to exile alone, that would be nice. If not, force will be used, either internally or from the outside. They prefer it that it's internally. They prefer it internally. And this turns part of the leadership of the Palestinian people into mercenaries. Do you see, can you sense anything democratic in this future, in this plan of what is planned? I can't. Now, where do we stand in such a case? Of course, I can go on and on and on with the scenarios and with the analysis. I can also try to prove to you that this is not only a so-called clean break in the history of the foreign policies of the United States. I can show you also the continuity. I can show you the continuity between the double containment of Iraq, Iran, of Clinton, Mr. Clinton, and the axis of evil. I can show you the continuity between blocking now any real peace movement in Israel and the fact that Dennis Ross fought against Oslo. He was working against Oslo, and he never believed in Oslo. And the fact that the Palestinians and the Israelis had to go to Oslo, not in Washington, because Washington was against that. Washington was against Oslo. But they accepted it as a fait accompli because Israel accepted it. And that was not this administration. So it's not only break, there is continuity and break. I don't want to go on with that. I have to, somebody have to shut me up. And, huh? Huh? Tell me, just tell me, because how long do I have? 5 minutes? 10. Okay. You see, they shut me up. In 10 minutes, I have to shut up. Anyway, no, I use the opportunity because, it's not talking in the Knesset. It's nice. I'm relaxed. In the Knesset, we can't talk relaxed like this. Shouting comes and you have to react. And so if somebody now shouts at me, I will feel at home a little bit. Anyway, I want to stop here in order to say some words, because I'm expected to do so, and rightly so, so where to? What are we going to do with the situation? We can't be alienated by the fact that Iraqis are celebrating that's the fact that Saddam is away. We can't be Democrats and alienated by this. Well, let's remember first one thing. Many things, but first, let's remember that people who are celebrating are exactly sufficient numbers for TV cameras. It's not hundreds of thousands of people celebrating. But still, the Iraqi people will feel relief without Saddam Hussein. It was a bloody dictatorship. I hope it was. And that is. Second,